It is April 17th, 2021. I am your host, Carter Ring, and this is the Ringers Podcast, coming at you here on a Saturday night with episode 73 here on the Ringers Podcast. Got my NFL mock draft 4.0, my final mock draft here for you here on the Ringers Podcast, about a week and a half away from the NFL draft. This one took me about, a few days to put together, and I had to go over it a little bit and see, if these picks fit or not. And I think this is the most accurate at this point. I have one trade that I will get to that I have inside this mock draft 4.0. So let's go ahead and get started. So at number one, obviously, anyone that doesn't know this has been living under a rock. The Jaguars are taking Trevor Lawrence, number one overall. That's almost certain. I'd bet my life on it that it happens. If you watch college football and you know football, you know Trevor Lawrence. I don't have to say much, right? I mean, he's a generational talent. The only reason Urban Meyer's coming out of retirement is for this kid. There is a lot of pressure on him, obviously. If he ends up being a bust, he'll be one of the biggest busts of all time. But I think he'll have a really good NFL career. It's hard to say he'll be a Hall of Famer. I got to see him play first. But I really like Trevor Lawrence's game. I do think he's the best quarterback in this draft. By a pretty good margin. I like Wilson, Fields, and Lance, but I think Lawrence is the most NFL ready right now. So I think he'll take Jacksonville and hopefully in a couple of years make them a contender, right? The second pick, I have the New York Jets selecting Zach Wilson, quarterback out of BYU, as do 90% of people in this world that do mock drafts. I'm almost 98% sure that they're taking Zach Wilson. They just traded Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers, and new head coach Robert Saleh has basically hinted at it in a press conference. He did a couple weeks ago that we were taking Zach Wilson. He's an outstanding quarterback. I mean, say what you want about his competition he faced, but he's a stud. This kid can make a lot of nice throws. He's got a very strong arm, and I think he's going to do great things in the NFL for the New York Jets. At number 3, I have the 49ers, who traded up from 12 to 3 with the Miami Dolphins about a month ago. I have them taking Justin Fields from Ohio State. Listen, I'm not buying all this hype. I'm really not. I'm not buying all this Mac Jones hype. Todd McShay came out and said he's hearing that they're taking Mac Jones. I'm not buying it. They've been at Justin Fields' pro day. I think they're taking Justin Fields, and I think they'd be kind of foolish not to. Justin Fields is the best player for them on the board, and he's the best quarterback remaining after Wilson and Lawrence get picked. So I really think they go ahead and take Justin Fields here. I mean, you take Mac Jones, that's basically Jimmy Garoppolo, right? It's like Kirk Cousins kind of quarterback. I think if you give Kyle Shanahan a Justin Fields for that offense, I think scary things could happen for the 49ers. At number 4, I have my first trade. I have the Atlanta Falcons trading back with the Denver Broncos, and the Broncos get up to 4 and select Trey Lance, quarterback out of North Dakota State. Denver desperately needs a quarterback. They have all the weapons: Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, Noah Fant, right? Drew Lock's not the answer, though. I worry about his maturity, and he's wildly inaccurate. He's just not consistent at the quarterback position, and John Elway knows it. And they've all but given up on Drew Lock, reports are saying. So I think they go up and get Trey Lance. They probably have to give up a haul to get up there, number 4. But I think Atlanta trading out of this pick makes some sense. Matt Ryan's he's still a pretty good quarterback. I think they can stick with him for a couple more years and get some huge draft haul and move back to 9 and still get a good player, which I have them getting a good player at 9. So I have the Broncos selecting Trey Lance at number 4. Number 5, I have the Cincinnati Bengals selecting Penei Sewell, tackle from Oregon. Penei Sewell, he's the best lineman in this draft. Reports have come out that Joe Burrow's pushing the Bengals to take Jamar Chase, his college teammate. And listen, Jamar Chase is an unbelievable player. He's a great wide receiver. He would help Joe Burrow out immensely. But I just think coming off the injury, you got to protect your franchise quarterback. Penei Sewell can be a decade-type tackle. He can be there that long. And I think he's got all he's versatile. He can play inside, he can play outside, but you're going to put him at left tackle. Protect Joe Burrow's blind spot. Don't fall in love with – they could go Kyle Pitts, honestly, but don't fall in love with Pitts, Chase. You got to get the best pick for the football team. And I think for the Bengals, Penei Sewell would be that pick. At number 6, I have the Miami Dolphins selecting Jamar Chase, wide receiver out of LSU. I think he gets by the Bengals and goes to Miami. He's the best receiver in this draft, in my opinion. I've watched his film a few times. I've watched Waddle, Smith, Bateman. Chase, every time I'm done watching him, I'm like, Chase is the best. He's the best wide receiver. I think he runs really good routes. He's not the fastest. Smith and Waddle are faster, but he's the guy that can go up and get a 50-50 ball better than any of them in this draft. Ja'Marr Chase would help Tua Tagovailoa out a lot. I think the Dolphins go ahead and snag Ja'Marr Chase. Number 7, I have the Detroit Lions selecting Jalen Waddle. And you're probably thinking, oh my God, they're going to pass on Kyle Pitts. What? Well, here's the thing. Hawkinson's a good tight end. I like him. And you could go ahead and take Kyle Pitts. That wouldn't be an issue. Have you seen their receiver depth chart? Their best receiver is Tyrell Williams. If you're a casual football fan, you probably don't know who that is. Geronimo Allison is number 2. If you're a Packers fan, you know him. And then Quintez Cephas from Wisconsin. That's all they got at wide receiver. So I think they need to go ahead and get Jalen Waddle. They need to and Jalen Waddle's Tyreek Hill 2.0. I don't know. He's not going to be as good as Tyreek Hill, I don't think. But he's comparable. The speed, right? The ability to get behind the defense. Jalen Waddle's a close wide receiver 2. He could be wide receiver 1 if it wasn't for Chase. So I think the Lions, with Hawkinson already being there, a solid tight end, you could take Pitts, But I think Waddle makes a lot of sense to get Goff a deep threat in that Lions passing game. And then at number 8, I have the Carolina Panthers, who now have Sam Darnold as their quarterback. They get Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida. And it hurts my soul to see him go 2 picks before the Cowboys, but Kyle Pitts isn't going to be there at 10. I've faced the reality of it, and the Panthers are going to scoop him up. It makes a lot of sense for Carolina to get this player. He's the best tight end prospect probably in the last 20, 25 years. That's not a joke. There's professional analysts that are saying that as well. He's got huge hands, 6'5", 240. He's just built to play a defensive end. I mean, it's insane. He's a generational talent. I wouldn't be shocked if he went 4th, if Atlanta stood pat at 4 and took him, or if he went 5th or 6th, 7th, whatever. There's no way he's going to make the 10. You heard the reports. Jerry Jones is infatuated with Kyle Pitts. Jerry, you're going to have to trade up if you want to get Kyle Pitts, and we don't need to be doing that with the defensive holes we have. At number 9, I have the Falcons, who traded back. I have them selecting Rashawn Slater, offensive lineman from Northwestern. There's a lot of people that think Slater's the best lineman in this draft. I would say Sewell. I've watched both their tapes, and Slater's good. He's got a little short arms, but he's got power. And that power makes up for having those little arms. He can play guard, tackle. He had a great season who did he face? Did he face Chase Young? I think he fared well against Chase Young, if I'm not mistaken, Northwestern Ohio State. But yeah, he's a really good player, and I think they go ahead and get Matt Ryan some protection while he's there, and for the future quarterback, Slater's a decade-type player, I think. I think they get him at 9. And then at 10, I have the Dallas Cowboys selecting Patrick Surtain II, cornerback out of Alabama, the son of Patrick Surtain Sr. I think Surtain's the best corner in this draft. He's the most NFL ready, most polished. He's physical. He has an ability to go get footballs up in the air. He's got ball hawk skills. And I really like Surtain a lot. I think he's a stud. I think he would help Dan Quinn out a lot right away for this Dallas defense, and we need a corner like Patrick Surtain. I hope he doesn't turn out to be another Morris Claiborne. That was a bust by us. But you pair him with Trayvon Diggs, I think that would be an excellent duo to have in Dallas. And I think Surtain gets scooped up by the Cowboys at 10. Number 11, the New York Giants. I have him selecting Christian Darrisaw, tackle out of Virginia Tech. He's the 3rd best lineman in this draft. Get Daniel Jones some protection, right? Giants went out and signed Kenny Galladay, John Ross, Kyle Rudolph. They got some weapons. They got Saquon coming back. They got Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard. They got pieces. But at Daniel Jones, I don't believe in Daniel Jones, but do the best you can. You drafted him in the top 10, right? You want to get the most out of your quarterback you invested in. Go get the offensive line help for Daniel Jones. So I think Christian Darrisaw makes a lot of sense for them. At number 12, I have the Eagles finally snatching the Heisman winner out of Alabama, Devontae Smith, getting Jalen Hurts, one of his Alabama guys. I think I had Smith dropping to 12 a little bit. He's the 3rd best receiver in this draft, in my opinion. He won the Heisman. He had a legendary season at Alabama. I just think Eagles would be a good fit, though. I mean, you get Jalen Hurts, him and Jalen Reagor. They got speed. And Devontae Smith, do I worry about his size? Sure. I think he's a little undersized, but I think it doesn't really matter, honestly. I think he's just that good of a route runner. He's got great hands, and he has a knack for getting open and catching the ball. And he's just a playmaker. So I think Devontae Smith ends up going 12 to the Philadelphia Eagles. At 13, I have the Chargers selecting J.C. Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina. J.C. Horn, to me, I think he's right now the second best corner in this draft. Caleb Farley has the back issues, but J.C. Horn, to me, he's a little grabby. He can be a little too physical, but I like that in the corner. I can live with that, right? He gets interceptions. He plays the ball well, and he's just a rah-rah kind of guy. I think the Chargers need that. Casey Hayward's no longer there anymore. I almost had them taking Elijah Vera Tucker to protect Justin Herbert, but they did invest a lot in that offensive line in free agency. They went out and got Corey Linsley from the Green Bay Packers, and then they got Filer, the tackle from the Steelers. So I think they'll go ahead and just roll with the free agency moves they had and go ahead and address the defense at 13. That makes a lot of sense for the Chargers. 14 overall, the Minnesota Vikings selecting Kwity Paye, defensive end out of Michigan. The Vikings need to get an edge rusher. Everson Griffin no longer there. Yannick Ngakoue, that experiment didn't work out for them. So I think Kwity Paye makes a lot of sense for the Vikings to pair him with Danielle Hunter. And the Vikings spent some money in free agency. They went ahead and got Delvin Tomlinson from the Giants. They signed Patrick Peterson from the Cardinals and Xavier Woods, safety from the Cowboys. So they made some moves. They got some players on defense. Mike Zimmer wants to get back to those days of having a great defense. So I think that makes sense for them to go defense. And then at 15, I actually have the New England Patriots snatching up Mac Jones, quarterback from Alabama. I think he falls to 15. I really do. I can see a scenario where he falls right in Bill Belichick's lap. And I think, Cam Newton is the starter. He will start if Mac Jones is picked at 15. But Mac Jones could be a guy they put in there mid-season if Cam's struggling or if Cam gets hurt, which he very well could. But maybe Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels are, all right, we like Mac Jones. We're going to take a chance on him. And Bill goes ahead and takes Mac Jones at 15 overall. At 16, I had the Arizona Cardinals selecting Elijah Vera Tucker, tackle out of USC. Vera Tucker's very strong. He's a great corner. He comes in, and he's versatile, and he can help protect Kyler Murray. That's exactly what you need. You need to spend high draft capital on offensive linemen when you can to protect your franchise quarterback. At 17, I have the Vegas Raiders selecting Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State. I don't think he's the best linebacker in this draft. I've watched his tape. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Nick Bolton, Zaven Collins, Jamin Davis. And I worry about Micah Parsons. I really do. I think he's got some character issues, some maturity issues. But I think John Gruden and Rob Marinelli and Mike Mayock would take a chance on Micah Parsons. He's very talented. He has freak ball skills. The guy, he's an unbelievable athlete. But again, I worry about his maturity. I worry about his attitude sometimes, but John Gruden will get the most out of him. And Rob Marinelli, former Cowboys defensive coordinator. I know Rob Marinelli. I know he will get the most out of Micah Parsons. I think that pick makes a lot of sense for the Raiders at 17. At 18, I have the Miami Dolphins selecting Azeez Ojulari, edge rusher out of Georgia. Ojulari, to me, I think he's going to end up being the best edge rusher in this class. He is a freak of nature. His long arms. I think people are actually sleeping on Ojulari. Had a great season at Georgia last year. He's just a freak athlete. He's kind of a one-trick pony right now. But if he's able to develop some more pass rushing moves, that's going to help out the Miami Dolphins a lot. They need that edge rusher in Miami. So I think Ojulari makes a lot of sense. At 19, I have the Washington football team selecting JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, linebacker from Notre Dame. And I would hate to see this happen as a Cowboys fan because that Washington front seven, if they get JOK, is going to be disgustingly good with Chase Young and Payne and Allen and Sweat. And then you add JOK. Whew. Dak Prescott might be sweating a little bit playing the football team. But no, in all seriousness, JOK is a stud. If you watch Notre Dame football, you heard this guy's name 10 times a game. He's a flat-out animal, and he can cover really well. I think he's the best coverage linebacker in this draft. So I think that pick makes a lot of sense for Washington at 19. At 20, I have the Chicago Bears selecting Tevin Jenkins, tackle. Tevin Jenkins, to me, I think he's underrated. I really do. I think the Bears go ahead and invest in the offensive line, and they need to. If you ask any Bears fan, they say, our offensive line sucks. Well, regardless if your quarterback is Andy Dalton this year or not, Andy Dalton's not terrible. Trust me, I watched him play for the Cowboys last year. He's not horrendous. If you give him a pocket, he can make throws. He's been in this league for almost a decade. And Tevin Jenkins isn't just a guy that's going to play there 1 year. He could play there a whole decade, right? So you get him on the left tackle spot to protect, or the right side, whatever you want to do for Andy Dalton and the future quarterback. I think that makes sense for Chicago. At 21, I have the Indianapolis Colts taking a risk-type pick here at 21. I have them taking Caleb Farley, cornerback out of Virginia Tech. And I think when healthy, he could be the best corner in this draft. He was going to be a top 10 pick presumably before the injury or the back surgery he had. But his agent came out and said medical reports are good. So I think Matt Eberflus and Frank Reich go ahead and take a chance. And Chris Ballard,